Hello, everyone. If you're new to Ready or Not, you've probably struggled with maybe where to find the shooting range, what weapons to use, what armor, gadgets, and all these other things. So I'm simply just going to go over a lot of these basic things that a lot of people might take for granted if you have been playing for already a long time. But for those people who are absolutely new, or maybe even new to shooters, perhaps, I'm just going to kind of show you and guide you what armor, what weapons, what gadgets, and some general tactics, as well as how to navigate in the precinct of Ready or Not. Now, every once in a while, there'll be an update, and it will change the general layout of the precinct, but usually it's pretty much the same most of the time. You will spawn in here initially. The first thing I do want to point out is that always to the right, there are actual like titles to each room, so you do kind of know what room you're looking at. This is where you will start your mission. It's just the first room to the right. You'll talk to this little table here, interact with it, and you won't have all of these options if you are a new player, but you just complete each one. As long as you get a passing grade, you'll unlock the next one. Usually that depends on the mode that you're playing. And then up here at the top, little tab here, you will see the expansions or DLCs to the game. So with that said, there is the difficulty up here. If you want to change the difficulty, if you're completely new to shooters, casual 100%. If you're a little bit more experienced, standard is pretty much what you should be doing a lot of the time. And if you are very, very meticulous and love to study games a lot, hard mode is definitely the thing to do. Standard is a good starting point for a lot of people, but I do recommend not going on hard unless you are willing to put in the work to get to that point, because a lot of time, whenever you are playing hard, a lot of people aren't ready. But if you continue through this room, which we just came from here, you can go just right past here and it'll say the SWAT unit. This is the closest place to customize your character. There are a couple locations. You can do it here, which will immediately go to your gun loadout, where your weapons and armor and stuff are. Now, if you can also do it right here in this little gun locker. And there are locations over here where to say customize character, but if you look at the top left, the loadout and customization come from the same interaction, so you just need to look up here and press the button. So if you do see something that says customize loadout versus weapons, basically the same thing. This is where you'll customize the majority of the time, and then just come up here to start the mission. Now, from here, you can go over here. Detective Yo isn't anything. Now, the evidence locker is actually for some bonus kind of information about campaign items or items you found throughout the campaign. It does give you a little more backstory and lore. It's not super imperative, but if you want to see a bit more, you can. And then if you go down here, the training facility, this is where there is a downstairs training facility where you can kind of like run around and shoot targets and practice your CQB kind of tactics. There is a weapons ammo refill here. So if you just press F or whatever the button is for you, it will refill your weapons. And another weapon loadout here. And here is the typical room for training. You can shoot and like interact with doors, learn how to press buttons and lean and stuff like that. Also, if you want to settle an agreement or an argument or whatever, this is where you do it. You just it's this little coin thing, pay for it, and then you just grab a paddle, and another person can grab a paddle, and you guys can play Pong together. Now, I am keeping this as one singular piece of footage, so you can understand where I am. This was where the SWAT unit was, where we came from. Just come out through this hallway into this darker kind of area, and it's the shooting range. This is also very close to where we spawned. We spawned right there. So if you just want to come out here, take a turn, and there is this area here. So once again, another place to change your weapons. This man right here, and down here for the shooting range. There's also more ammo refill. And if you want to press this, you press this little button with your interact button, and you can send the target backwards. And you can shoot, see your recoil, see how things are doing. And then you can check your spread, see if it's good or awful. And of course, there's more other shooting range things. There's like this thing where you shoot and it'll move the targets back and forth. And we also have something like this. So for consistency in aiming, this is a good exercise. And same with this thing over here. You are constantly able to move back and forth with the weapon that you're using. Get used to the firing. I don't like this weapon at all. Okay, and then we'll just come back here. There are two ways to enter. There are usually a lot of weapon loadout areas to change your loadouts in various spots. Usually they're where you would expect them to be, like a shooting range or the locker. Now, what I do want to talk about is the weapons, the armor, and the gadgets. Now, a lot of the time, if you're a new player, you'll probably just end up picking the default loadout. Now, what I do recommend, generally speaking, for everybody, if you are a new player and let's just say you want like a one-fits-all kind of loadout, generally speaking, first we'll look at our weapons. There are essentially two all-purpose weapons, technically three. There's going to be the shotgun, now the B1301 and the M1014. Those are automatic shotguns that do not need to be pumped to be shot. They're not pump action shotgun, they are semi-automatic. So you pull the trigger, it shoots. These are the better ones. I do recommend this one. So pick that one if you are picking a shotgun. You'll reload. Great, damage. One shot usually kills the target. I do recommend buckshot. Usually around 3 points to 5 points, depending on how much you're shooting, for your primary weapon. For the shotgun, if you are using a assault rifle, there are a lot of good assault rifles. The MCX is more or less the best one, arguably. I do recommend like high visibility optic, which is going to be the 510C or the Hollow Sight EXPS3. They're just the best ones overall. You can put ones that have like some magnification. A lot of the time they are trickier to use, but as I said, just stick with this and you'll be fine. The SFMB brake is the best brake because it has the most vertical recoil reduction. And if you don't want to use that, you can use a suppressor for the cool factor. But I do recommend SFMB brake, vertical grip, any vertical grip, which is going to be this vertical grip or TH grip. These are the best ones for reducing recoil. And then there are canted sights. I don't recommend using them. They're not very good, in my opinion. It's because the consistency after each shot moves the sights too much to be actually very usable for accuracy. So I don't really recommend that. And then for the illuminator, it doesn't really matter. Fundamentally, this one's going to be better overall just because it has better illumination. But yeah, so just either one is acceptable, doesn't really matter. And any laser pointer is acceptable. I do recommend, if you just pay attention to the weapon that you're using, if you don't pick the MCX, just pay attention to where the laser pointer sits on the weapon. I do recommend using the laser pointer if it sits on top of the weapon, just so it has a better sight line to your weapon. The reason why I say this is because if there is another weapon, for example, that maybe sits on the side of the weapon or under the weapon, it will modify where the laser is coming from, which means that because there is height overbore, which just means the bullet comes out of the gun, it's more realistic in this game. It is going to change fundamentally how you're aiming and where the bullet placement is if you're close or far. Not so much far, but generally speaking, if you're closer, it's just better for it to be on top of the weapon, simply because of how, height overbore works. So once you have picked the MCX with a vertical grip, SFMB brake, and any type of light is fine. Now onto the pistol. I recommend a few pistols. Now, a lot of these weapons are 9mm. They don't do a lot of damage. Now, when I say they don't do a lot of damage, I mean they don't do a lot of damage, especially if you are fighting enemies that have armor on, which they will do even less damage. Now, there are a few exceptions to this rule. The Mark V, which you may or may not have if the DLC is allowing you to get it or not. But this is basically probably the best pistol because it takes 2 shots tops to take out any target. It's basically the equivalent of a Desert Eagle. 2 to 3 shots or magazines are acceptable for this weapon. You can honestly use this as a primary if you really wanted to, because it's just that good. The other options are going to be a USP, and then instead of armor piercing, you're actually going to put jacketed hollow point. And if you hit somebody who's unarmored, or if you hit them in the shoulder or arm or whatever, it does a lot of damage. So it's always going to be very strong for making those targets either bleed, or just because if you're missing or hitting body armor, it's not really going to be good. So you're just going to be trying to aim for the limbs or head anyway. So if you do hit them in the arm, it's just a bonus. The armor piercing isn't going to be too great for that. So USP is great for hitting those body parts. Mark 5 is good for hitting any target as long as it's armor piercing. And then the last contender is going to be the 5.7. This one has a higher than normal armor penetrating round. It's kind of designed for penetration. I do recommend armor piercing, generally speaking. You can actually use this as a primary. It will take a few more shots than usual, than a rifle, for example, but it is a very strong weapon. Any dot that and any optic that gives you the best visibility is usually the best one, which is the SRO dot. It doesn't matter if you put the suppressor on the 5.7 or not. Most of the time, if you see this, whatever attachments I'm using, those are usually the best ones. This one is a laser and a light, so it's good to have both. And then there is this one, which is kind of an honorable mention. It does have the full auto function, so it can shoot very quickly. It's very difficult to control, but it is a very good weapon if you are super, super close and you want to put on full auto. Honestly, GHP probably is a little bit better than AP in this circumstance because it is 9mm, but you can kind of it can be up to you, really. So those are the pistols I would recommend. I'm just going to pick this one because it is one of my favorite pistols. So with the rifle, for number of ammo or magazine you'll be bringing, anywhere from 3 to 5 is acceptable. A lot of the time, 4 is a good number. 2 is also a good number for your pistol, usually 3, depending on how you feel about it. Now it comes to the important one, which is called the long tactical weapon, or item, I should say, rather. Now, there are a couple things that really identify what kind of character you are or how you play, and that's usually this item here. The mirror gun allows you to look under doors or around corners or like over any type of obstruction that you might think of. You can use this in all different types of ways, very helpful. This is for the person that is a slow person. And what I mean by slow is if they are going to take their time, if they're going to really look at the environment, think about what they're doing, check under doors, see enemies, figure out what the plan is, and then enter the room. That's generally speaking, that mirror gun. That's what kind of identifies this kind of person. You're going to be playing very tactically, very slowly, very methodically. And you're going to try to use as many pieces of information as you can to your benefit. So that's kind of what the mirror gun is. There is the flash launcher, and this is a pretty good all-around good purpose tool. You are going to be using this pretty much when you enter a room, or if there's an enemy that you have to subdue because they're, a VIP and you need to subdue them and not kill them. You need to bring them in. Flash launcher is really awesome for that. Generally speaking, if you are going to be someone who plays with a lot of other people or just wants to be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more survivable, you're going to use the tactical shield. If you do take the tactical shield, make sure you take around 3 to 4 magazines for it. And then you can also reduce the number of magazines you need for your primary if you're going to be using that shield more often. And then from there is some breaching tools. They're not really necessary because you can breach any kind of door automatically with just your default lockpick that you always have with you no matter what. So they're not really required. There are some cool tricks you can do with the breaching shotgun. The battering ram is less so of that. Kind of like a worse breaching shotgun in my opinion. Breaching shotgun is very good though. If you want to play very quickly, you shoot open a door. You can also, if doors are made out of wood, and sometimes they're made out of metal, but if they are made out of wood, you can actually blast the top right corner or the bottom right corner of the door hinge side of the door, and you can throw a grenade through it because it blows a hole through the door. You can throw a grenade through it, and you can kind of use it to see through doors and stuff like that. Be careful, because if you do shoot it anywhere else on the door, it will push the door open and it can activate traps. So this is definitely for someone who wants to play fast and or wants to shoot a hole in the door to throw it before entering the room. So there is gas, which is a quick deployable, and you obviously want to bring a gas mask, which I'll talk about in a second. Gas is very strong. Fundamentally, what you want to look at gas as is a smoke grenade. This one will last for 15 seconds. It deploys very quickly when it's shot out of the launcher. Thrown ones are slightly different, but fundamentally, you're just going to shoot it and use it as concealment. You're going to use it to conceal your movement. You're going to use it to conceal, enemies' visions. So when you get to a room, you have a chance to see them before they see you. Very, very strong tool, gas. Do not underestimate it. Very strong. Stay away from the stinger. If you want to use the ram, you can, but I'd probably recommend staying away from it. So shield, breaching shotgun, either of the flash or gas launchers, and then mirror gun are the ones I recommend. As I said, if you do take a shield, take extra mags. Now onto the armor. I do have a video talking about this and kind of going through a couple scenarios where I'm testing the armor just as it was if you were to play and kind of see the differences between each one. Ceramic is going to break if you get shot a lot. It's usually pretty rare, but if you're prone to mistakes, I definitely recommend using steel. Generally speaking, if you like to move faster, it is okay to put one front plate of steel. And as long as you're covering your back, you are safe. You can also use the shield as a back plate because the shield is indestructible. So if you want to be fast moving, you can put front plate and have steel for the best protection. And when it comes to heavy armor just means that you'll have armor on your shoulders, chest plate, and back plate. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I've heard this, I'm not sure if this is 100% true, but I think it is. If you don't put any plates in your back or, like which full counts as your arms and stuff, if you just put a front plate, the rest of the armor will default to Kevlar material, or as far as I'm aware. And that just gives you like a small damage reduction universally. It's usually not super, super helpful, but it does help a little bit against small firearms. But once you reach those bigger firearms, it's not really going to help you that much. If you want to have the most survivability, full coverage in steel is the best thing, heavy armor. If you do want to move faster, you can do light with steel front plates, or you can do front and back ceramic. Those are generally the recommendations I would recommend. Ceramic is faster, you move faster, not too much more. Front steel and plate, if you are using a shield, is nice if you're not using a shield. So it's really up to you if you want to move faster or if you want to have a little bit more survivability. Survivability is definitely going to be steel and full armor. Just make sure that if you are using full coverage with steel, that just to remember that you do move slower. Your initial beginning of movement will be very, very slow. And then once you get up to speed, you'll be just as fast as everybody else. But if you're like taking corners or stopping or bumping into things, which happens more than you might think, having full set of coverage for steel will slow you down a lot. And you don't think that you're going to have that happen, but it's very often the case. So if you're intelligent about your positioning, this is a very good way to do it. Generally speaking, if it's a default, you can also just go front and back steel. That's totally fine. Light armor. So moving on to the gadgets. Now there are a couple gadgets. There's grenades, and then there's tactical devices. I'm going to be honest. The 9-bang is really bad. I don't like it. It's outshunned by other grenades like the flashbang and the stinger. I don't recommend using it. If you want to use it for fun or roleplay purposes or whatever reason, you can do that. That's totally fine. But I don't recommend it for if you are trying to play very seriously or if you're trying to, pass a mission that's a little bit harder and you're struggling. Avoid these. They're not that great. CS gas, as I said before, these ones will be thrown from your hand and they do take longer to deploy. If I remember correctly, I think it's 4 seconds. I can't actually remember. Maybe like 3 or 4 seconds to deploy. And then it has a 20-second duration rather than a 15-second duration, which is a considerable amount of time to smoke screen an area, essentially. And of course, anybody in that area will take, they will get like blurred vision. They'll have decreased accuracy. This is also the case when they are looking through the gas while they're not in the gas. So gas is a very strong tool. Just remember to bring your gas mask if you do want to go through the smoke yourself or the gas yourself. Flashbangs, they're quick, easy. You throw it around a corner, it explodes, it stuns them for a period of time. Great. They have a smaller radius, just slightly, than a stinger. Stingers are basically just they explode and they hit. The material inside is just rubber balls. It'll hit the target and it'll stun them. It's very similar to a flashbang. The trajectory throws slightly different if it's bouncing off things, but generally speaking, flashbang, can't go wrong with them. Now, depending on if you're taking a gas mask or some flash goggles, what you can do is you can put a few points into flash grenades, and then you can put 2 points into gas. Gas is awesome for concealing movement. So you don't need to actually have a gas mask to use these effectively. You can throw them to get to a location. You can throw them in a room so you can clear other parts of the room before dealing with that. It's a very good tool, even if you're not using a gas mask. And it's I can't stress this how often and how amazing gas grenades can really be. Very underutilized, very underrepresented, like very low representation for them and how good they are. Now, if you're not someone who likes to, or you don't think that you're going to use a lot of these, I do recommend taking like 2 flashbangs. And honestly, if you don't want to use gas, probably it takes a little more time to deploy. Just take 3 flashbangs. I think that's more than enough. Depending on your setup here, as I said, if you're using a shield, you'll be taking more mags for your pistol. So onto the tactical devices. Now, C2, you can kind of never go wrong with C2. It's kind of amazing. But before we do that, we're actually going to put a point in taser, because if there is a civilian, a enemy with a gun, if there is a, let's say, for example, a suspect you need to subdue and you have to keep them alive, and they do have a pistol or something and they're shooting at you, taser is always going to be the best thing. You take it out, you shoot it, they get stunned. As long as it hits them, you just yell at them once and they'll surrender. I recommend always taking a point in taser pretty much every single time, unless there is just enemies on the map with a couple civilians. But even then, it's super helpful to have it as a default. This is going to be a general all-purpose build, so I'm saying take the taser pretty much every single time. And pepper spray is okay. It's kind of just a worse taser in some sense, but it does have its uses. If an enemy is rushing you with a knife, for example, you can just spray it, and as long as it hits them, generally speaking, they'll stop, attacking. It's not good for weapons though, so don't spray at people who have actual, guns in their hands, because it won't really work. They'll just shoot at you, blind fire, and you'll still die. It's still helpful, but just use a taser, better. Now on to C2. C2 is something that you put on a door to reach it. It'll explode the door in that direction. It'll also blow up any traps on the door. You do have to be aware of that if you are breaching a door that has a tripwire. Kind of hard to go wrong with these. When you put 1 point, you actually get 2 of them. You get 2 points for every 1 point. So I have 2 breaching charges for 1 point spent. So that's really awesome. And then finally, there is going to be a wedge. Wedge is the same thing. You put 1 point in, you get 2 wedges. Wedges are something that you just stick under a door. It'll wedge the door closed, which means it cannot be opened by traditional means. You can remove it as well from a door if you do not want to, if you want to go through it. For example, if you made a mistake and you're moving around, wedges are always an awesome tool to have. If you're playing with people, they're less likely to bring it. If you're playing with, if you're playing by yourself with the AI, just give your AI teammates wedges. But this is generally for everything. So if you're playing commander mode, or if you're playing with people, this is a good loadout for this. So this would be the loadout. Now, before we do anything, we are going to look at our helmet. And if you are using a like flash grenades, I do recommend having a anti-flash goggles right here, which is right here. I'm going to click the anti-flash goggles. If you are using a gas mask, you can't have anything except the gas mask. So if you are going to use gas grenades, and generally speaking, I do recommend kind of using one type of grenade just to make it more simple. If you are using gas grenades, it's just a gas mask. You can't wear flash goggles as well. Kind of bummer, but you know, that's what it is. And for example, if you were using anything other than a shield, you can take points off of your pistol, put them in your primary, and then you can also allocate more into any other location that you want. So for example, if you want more gas grenades because you're taking a gas mask, do that. Let's say you are taking flashbangs and you have 3, have the anti-goggles. Always take a ballistic mask with some flash goggles. Not super important, but it does offer a little bit more protection. Not too much more, but it is helpful. So with that extra point, you can put it in. Let's say if you're shooting more with your primary a lot, you're spraying, put an extra point here. You want more flashbangs, put a point here. You want more C2, put a point here. You get the idea. Generally speaking, as I said, 3 megs for your primary is the minimum. And if you really want to, and you don't use your pistol, you don't have to, actually at all. The only time you're going to actually put points into pistol, if you really feel like you want to use your pistol and you are utilizing your pistol, it's going to be commonly with a shield when you'll put points into pistol. Usually it's around 3 to 4, sometimes 5, depending if you are a very aggressive shooter. If you are using a shotgun, for example, like the B1301, as I kind of said to use, it's nice to have a pistol to swap to if you're, say, you know, caught with your pants down because you shot a bunch of shotgun shells and you're like, oh, I'm out of ammo and it takes a long time to reload. I'm going to swap to my pistol. So that is going to be what the loadout looks like. Depending on the weapon you're using, this is usually like configurations that I recommend. If you are using a shotgun, I did forget to talk about the shotgun. SRO sight, just best visibility for the weapon. The brake reduces recoil. The spread choke will increase the choke. It'll choke up the weapon, the buckshot in the weapon. Therefore, if you are shooting really, really far away, it's a better chance of hitting that target with more of that damage, and it'll take them out easier. I don't really recommend it. It's okay, but it's not really needed. Having a bit more chance to hit a target is a little bit more valuable, in my opinion. If you have a spread choke, it does minimize your chances of actually hitting the target because, well, instead of being a huge radius of, you know, pellets hitting them, of buckshot hitting them, it's going to be a smaller, sharper grouping, essentially. So I do recommend the brake, laser pointer, flashlight, pretty standard. That's going to be the case with every weapon. You're going to put a laser pointer, you're going to put a flashlight on it. Always standard. And then if you want to try other things like a battle rifle, this one has better penetration, so it'll go through walls better, but it'll also go through people as well. So if you do shoot not carefully or you're full auto, it's important to make sure that you're not shooting a hostile and then going through to hit, let's say, a civilian. So the battle rifles have much greater penetration, so I want you to avoid you know, where you're shooting if you are using a battle rifle. There are some other options like less lethal. They're usually pale into comparison if you are comparing it to a grenade flash launcher. This one's just the best one in the game for non-lethal and S ranks. I'm not really going to talk about that, but this is just for getting S ranks. Basically, an S rank is like, oh, you got to complete everything without letting anybody die. You know, no negatives, get every objective complete. Basically perfect a, you know, a mission without any suspect dying. That'd be suspect or civilians. Submachine guns you don't really want to use, honestly. They're just not that great. PDWs are okay, but they're, you know, hit and miss. And of course, if you do want to, you know, use another weapon that you like or like the look of or like the sound of or whatever, do it. There's no issue with that. But these are the items I do recommend if you are just starting out and playing. These are the items I recommend. And as I said before already, with the shield and stuff. So I do recommend white phosphorus for your night vision. I do recommend GP NVGs. It gives you more visibility. As I said, you want to pick white phosphor. It's going to be much more better for you being able to see things. Green is fine and looks cool. If you want to do that, you can, but white is a little bit better for this circumstance. So this is going to be our loadout for now. I'm actually going to do this loadout here. I'm actually going to put one more point in flashbangs because I do value flashbangs very much. So this is going to be the loadout. 3 in your primary mag, 3 in your sidearm, whatever grenade preference you want. Coming with, of course, gas mask or flash goggles. If you're using flash grenade, you use flash goggles and a face mask. If you're using gas, you use a gas mask, of course. And then the order in which you put your points in for the long tactical is the order in which it will be pulled out whenever you go to reach for it. So you put your point in taser first, and then you can do C2 and then wedge. And I can kind of show that. So because I put my point in taser first, when I press number 4, which is the taser button, the other gadget buttons, you will notice that I actually pull the taser first. And of course, 1, 2, and 3 are your weapons. There are certain weapons that had startup animations, as you just saw with this pistol. So whenever you start a mission, it's important to take out the pistol if you are going to be using it. You can also alternatively take out your shield, which will skip the animation. And then if you are aiming with a shield, something important to note is that we're just going to go down to the shooting range. And I'm also going to talk about a few tactics, just some beginning tactics for how to stay alive and such. But once you are here, the buttons will change depending on if you're using a controller or a mouse. But it's important to have a laser pointer when you're using a shield, so you're not aiming from the hip. You can kind of place the laser pointer on the target, and you can fire. Another really important thing is to note high ready. So you can notice that I am aiming with my weapon. And then if I press spacebar, I'm not sure if that's the default or not, you'll have to check, but it'll be called high ready or low ready in the settings. Go to options and then go to controller if you're in the controller. If you're on keyboard, go to the keyboard. It will be, you know, somewhere within here. Let me see here. It's probably going to be an interaction, I assume. Yep, space. So toggle low ready is going to be spacebar. So you just press spacebar. It's essentially like the sprint. That's what you're going to be using. Also, it's just good to look at all of these interaction buttons. G is quick throw for the grenade. F is yelling at the target. B is like a melee. It's a bash if they're really close. Makes them good for subduing. Switching to full auto or single target. We're not going to look at this, which is switching the ammo type. So if you brought like armor piercing rounds and jacketed hollow point, which is for shooting flesh to do more damage to flesh, this is going to be what that button will swap. You'll swap out the magazine. Now, when it says reload or check magazine, because there is no marker for how much ammo you have in your weapon, you don't know how much ammo you have in your weapon. So you can hold R and it'll show you the magazine and how full it is, as you can see. And if I swap it out by just tapping R, this is a realistic kind of simulation. So like you will swap out and hold the magazine. So if you like shoot a couple rounds and reload, you will keep that same ammo in your weapon. So you'll be swapping to other magazines and then slowly emptying each one. So it's important to know that you're not getting a full reload every time you reload. You're actually just taking some out of every other magazine. So make note of that whenever you're doing that. Make sure you have a full magazine if you're going to into what you think is going to be a very big threatening room. Otherwise, you can kind of, you know, handle doing, you know, make sure you have like half magazine to handle, generally speaking, the other basic things, right? Less threats and such. I do recommend practicing throwing your grenades. A good way to throw grenades is to aim down your sights, and then you're going to just press G, which is the quick throw button, and you'll notice that it'll be quiet and you can't hear your weapon or your grenade very well, but it'll make you throw very accurate grenades. So if I want to, like, say, for example, throw it just right here between these two things, let's say through a door or something, I can throw it perfectly through the door. It'll land exactly where it'll be thrown exactly where you're aiming, essentially. In terms of its trajectory, you do have to work on distancing and other stuff like that. But past that, it's a great tool. Aim and then press G, which is the quick throw grenade button. This is becoming quite long of a video. I'm gonna do a few tactics now. This is going to be some very quick ones to kind of help you stay alive. For that, I am going to actually go into a mission with this loadout that we did pick. We will do the second mission, which is a good mission because it has a little bit of everything. There's a target that you have to subdue. There's good angles, you know, blah, 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 blah. I will be bringing AI with me in this circumstance. But we can kind of talk about some of the tactics. Tactics are always going to be better if you have people with you versus AI, because AI are kind of wonky and not really able to comprehend the situation. You can also change your enemy or your AI's loadouts as well. It's not super important. A lot of the time the default is okay. If you really feel like you want more of something like more C2 or more wedges, you know, give them a couple points in wedges and reallocate how they want to do. So the first thing I want to note is that if you are going to a location, try to minimize your exposure to any threat area, right? So there's two threats areas on my left and one on my right. So I can actually go to this wall and just check over here. And then I'm going to go to this wall and just check over here. Now there is a free lean button, which is holding Alt. You can actually lean around corners to check around corners. This is a very safe thing to do. You can also press Q or E to do a kind of baby toggle lean. I do recommend changing it to toggle in your settings, your Q and E buttons, so that you can just press it once and it'll be held. Just make sure to press that button again to go back into your regular stance if you are moving, because it does slow you down. One thing that's super important, if you have a mirror gun, always mirror under the door. That should be a given if you have a mirror gun. You can also look at the door handle to peek open the door, and you can peek inside to see enemies. So if you can actually also shoot enemies through here as well. I'm going to go, I'm going to turn on my laser pointer. I'm going to turn on my light. I'm going to go full auto. I see a couple of them running around. Being patient is a super helpful thing, especially if you're new. There's no reason for you to rush into a space and get shot. If you want to open the door, you can look into the middle center of the door, press open. I will open the door. Now I'm going to do that technique I did where I look where I want my grenade to go. I'm just going to press G to quick throw it. And then I'm going to go into this first half of the room. I'm not going to tackle the whole room. Oh, I'm getting shot, so I'm just going to back up. I'm just going to hold my angle. It's not about going in and clearing super quickly. You will end up dying because of that. You can also use shout, try to identify locations of targets. And once we are clear, we're just going to clear the right side because it's easier to clear. This has a door and a hallway. This one is just a little cubby hole. So always try to clear the easiest part first, because you know that then you know you can operate in this space, and it's kind of safe now, in some sense, right? Number one thing, close doors behind you, so you don't get flanked. So here's a tricky area. The door is open. There's nothing wrong with going to a door and closing it. Secure the area that you're already in. Closing doors is always extremely helpful. And now we have a pretty secured area where we can kind of move around without issue. If there is an enemy that opens the door, we can hear it, and we can aim and shoot at that target. But it gives us more operating space, more freedom to kind of move about. And let's just say I want to clear this room, and we're clear. We can close that door again. Let's say I want to clear this room, and the AI are being really annoying. They're in the way. That happens a lot. Okay, we're clear on this one. Okay, so that door opened. So imagine if that door was opened already and I didn't close it. This person has to open the door and then they have to shoot. It gives you much more time to react. Also, a space like this. This is a very big open area, as you might be able to see. There's a lot of area for enemies to be in. If I walk out basically around here, there's a large amount of area from multiple angles that they can shoot me at. I did see a target, so I did decide to shoot a bunch of ammo. it was an enemy because he shot at me. I'm not sure if I killed him or not, but it's okay. So I'm going to actually take a different path because I don't like this path. Simply because it's a wide open area and it's harder because there's much more like up and down kind of vertical threats. So I'm just going to take this outside here. Always be ready and always be pointing your weapon at the location of where enemies are presumed to be. I presume that it's probably going to be over here by this door, but right now I got to check the left. I'm going to check the left and we're good. Now, this is going to be an opportunity for a C2. I can put it on the top of the door. You're just going to put it above the handle is where you're going to place it. You're going to press left click, place it. Uh-oh, that's not good. That's fun, isn't it? This is on hard mode, so... But I'm going to press this now. And that guy is probably going to be taken out. I'm actually going to throw a flashbang as well in there. Be a little bit more safe. And I'm actually going to tell my AI to move in. Press middle mouse button. And whatever you're looking at will give the contextual menu of what you'll tell them to do. So we did stun this guy. And there's 2 doors open. The door is obviously broken because I use C2. And that is the downside of using C2 is that you can't secure areas as well. Trying to approach this room, clearing the easier space to clear first safely, and then we're going to clear the harder space. We see somebody, they had a gun in their hand. There's no reason to hesitate. You take them out. There are circumstances where there can be a enemy that you have to keep alive, but generally speaking, if they are in this little pose where they're hiding, you do need to yell at them once, and you can press B to bash them to make them to surrender, so it's quieter. If you press F, which yells at them, enemies around you will hear you and become more stressed and more active. So try to avoid yelling at suspects. Remember, as I said, just press B and you'll bash them with your weapon. Bashing them with a rifle is a little bit more effective than a pistol because it does more quote-unquote damage. And here we go. We have our guys here. We are going to check our ammo because we were shooting full auto. Now, this is a bigger room, of course, which I just know because I know the map. So I am going to change out my magazine. And because it's a little scarier, I am actually going to use my pistol and my shield. You can crouch. It's better to crouch in combat for playing with people, so they can shoot above you, over your head. And with the pistol here, it is very, very strong. Remember that you can also bash the shield if you have to. But this shield is completely impenetrable. The suspects can still kill you, though. If you have your hand out aiming with right-click... Wow, this guy's got an attitude. You will have a higher chance of taking damage. So crouching and looking at the opponent as they are shooting at you is the safest way to stay alive. You can sometimes wait for the shield, for them to stop shooting at the shield. Then you can put your arm and then you can shoot, because they can shoot your hand. Just important to know.
Arrest them.
I got it.
You can also command your AI, of course, contextually to do multiple things. Anything that you can do, more or less, your AI can do. So you can tell them to secure this weapon. I'm like, hey, can you secure evidence? It's not on your... This is the only exception. But if you press at the bottom right, it says secure evidence. My contacts button is Z. So they'll you know, go and tie that up, as you can see. And we're good. Now, substances that have been shot like this... Wherever that's coming from, let me just bring everybody here. Take us downstairs. Take cover whenever you're getting shot at. Okay, so I'm just gonna sit in this corner and wait for my guys to come out. Help. See somebody running. I'm gonna use that opportunity to push in. If you are going through a scary area, there's nothing wrong with just using the shield and seeing what's going on. Taking time to aim and firing. There's a lot of glare on my shield because there's a light behind me. But let's say I want my team to move to a location. I can press the middle mouse button and press 1. They'll move to a location. As you can see, there is a canted aim for weapons. I believe it's default one of your mouse buttons. Like your thumb buttons, I mean, on your mouse. And we're just going to go through here. Checking. I think we're relatively clear. And okay, so there is one room left. I know this because I've played this game a lot.
Move over there.
So your AI will yell and they will make a lot of noise. So sometimes it's beneficial for having them go stay at spawn and then you go first.
Make them stable and proceed.
Make sure to tie up weapons like this. After the mission is over and there's no more suspects or civilians, you can press middle mouse button and press, I believe it's 6 for search and secure. It'll tie up every weapon and they will, you know, go and tidy up every important thing to get to your best score, essentially. They will not talk about or collect evidence related to other objectives. So just keep that in mind, which I will show you shortly. And if you ever want your AI to follow you, you just press middle mouse button and then you press 2. And then usually I just press 2 again. So this is the door where the end of the mission is going to be. This is where a lot of enemies are. I do recommend using, like, you know, C2 to blow it open, throwing lots of flash grenades, all that kind of stuff. This is a very difficult room for AI to handle. They can make it through. A lot of the time they will die. If you want to check a door to see if it's locked, you can look at the handle, hold F, or the button that is your interact button, and it'll say it's locked. So you don't actually have to interact the door, accidentally peek it. You can actually just hold F to see if it's, you know, like that. This is a little tricky. It'll depend on each door, but generally speaking, it's below the handle to use a lockpick, and you'll just gotta hold it to pick the lock. Then, of course, you can peek it and start working the door. Also, you can just use C2 as well. You can also command your team to do that as well. I'm gonna tell them to stack up on the... Actually, I'm gonna tell them to split on each side. I'm gonna tell them to breach with C2 with what is going on. Okay. Now they're gonna run in there or get stuck on the door because they're so intelligent and smart. Now, the AI aren't perfect. As you can clearly see, they really struggle. So usually, a lot of the time, I would not ever recommend relying on them. So for moving in here, I do recommend clearing the smallest rooms first. Because this is a self-contained room, I can enter it, clear it, and then grab the room. So you're basically just trying to conquer as much territory, and conquer the little ones first, because it's going to be a little bit easier. I'm going to peek this very carefully as best I can. If I'm hearing shooting and I want to crash somewhere that's dangerous, I can cut my shield. Looks like he's blind firing. So they did a decent job at securing the area. I'm going to shut this door, and so I can clean up some stuff. I do recommend using this after. It's not good to do it in the middle of a battle, but you can, like, tie up people. Why is this guy tied up or not? That's supposed to be the guy we're supposed to arrest. Okay, they already arrested him, I think. So I'm going to do full auto. Actually, I'm going to do a single shot. It leaves you better for longer range. And we're just going to carefully pie this off. And pieing just means carefully looking into the room, piece by piece, to see if there's anybody in there. Because you don't want to jump in there and have, you know, multiple angles where they could shoot you from. So what I am going to do is I'm going to actually have them just stand in this hallway. They might die, but that's okay. Better them than me. And this is a tricky room, so I can either use my shield. If I had a mirror gun, I'd use a mirror gun. But for now, I'm going to just crouch down and lean as far as I can. It looks like I just saw him, and he's right there. If I can throw a grenade without dying. Okay, I'm not going to enter the room yet. I'm going to yell at them to see if he can surrender. He did not, so I took him out. There is another target, sounds like it's coming. I'm going to just pick up my shield. And I'm going to reload my pistol because I didn't do that. And I'm going to have my team go in there and clear the room for me. I'm just going to peek up a little bit, see if I can see anybody. Looks like it's right there. And we're good. So there is something called soft complete mission. So you can complete the mission right now. There are items on the ground and other objectives. So for example, out here, no matter what, my team will never ever secure this. I have to do it. If I do search and secure, which is little mouse button and search and secure. They will clear up all these weapons and any targets that weren't identified as dead or incapacitated. So for example, if you shoot a suspect, you should, report them that you shot them or killed them. But they won't see things like this, like report the suspect, CP, the computer, and they won't see like, this, questionable material here. And then once all of the evidence and items are collected, the mission will autocomplete like this. You don't actually need to press Y, but if you do and you're like looking for something, you're like, I don't care, probably got like a B or an A rank, I'm totally fine, I can press Y, and then it will complete the mission, and then you'll get, your grade, and it can tell you in this mission screen what you missed. So I missed, I missed something, like missed some evidence, or I didn't secure a civilian, or an officer died and I didn't report him or whatever. It also tells you your negatives on the right side. I didn't have any because I didn't shoot like friendly fire. I didn't shoot a civilian. I didn't shoot a suspect who wasn't looking like they were going to fight back. So it's important to note these things. The score, generally speaking, isn't important as long as you get a passing grade. There are other things like getting S ranks can give you cosmetics. And for certain achievements, of course, you need certain ranks or whatever. But you can see what you've missed here. You can see any negatives you had. I think pretty much anything as a passing grade, as long as you've got every objective and as long as there's not too many negatives. If you are trying to get achievements where you want to complete everything and actually count it as completed, you do need all the objectives, I believe, to actually get that point. Now we can return to headquarters, or we could try again, or we could leave, or whatever. So once again, once we're done a mission, we will load in here, and we can play another mission just by going over here. If you want to change your loadout, as I said before, you are just going to go over here to the SWAT unit, or to the shooting range is also fine to change your weapon either here, or by the locker, or over there. So test out what you like, and what you if you have certain preferences, like you like shotguns or whatever, definitely try them out. And even though I do recommend these weapons specifically, you can have fun by using other weapons. This one is a mag-fed shotgun, pretty handy. You can reload a whole 10 rounds at a time, essentially, instead of shooting singular or reloading each shell individually. Battle rifles, they're really awesome on standard. They can penetrate through things. They take one shot to take out suspects 99% of the time. Really awesome. The assault rifles are usually a bit more accurate in terms of their consistent rate of fire if you want to do full auto. And CX is still the best weapon in my opinion. Best, rate of fire and all this stuff. Controllable and all that other stuff. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything, or if you have any like curiosities, or if you want some more tips or whatever, I do have a few videos talking about tips and tricks. There's also like a player guide for how to like, approach a door, for example. I did discuss a few basic tips for how to do some, basic tactics. Just do small bits of room first, conquer that room, secure that room, then do the next one. Don't run into a big room and try to secure 3 areas, right? For example, like if this was the room and let's say one of the doors was open, you're going to want to focus on that door, of course, first. Just obviously a lot of time, just think logically about it. Like, for example, you wouldn't want to go into this room because it has so many angles of threat. So there's like a door over here. There are windows over here. There's a door over here. And of course, there's a door over here. So this would be a very dangerous room to enter. Now, which side can you obviously control the most from? If you're here, there's going to be sides here, and here, and here, and potentially if someone's behind here and they walk out, it's going to be a very large amount of threat area for you to get shot from. Now, for example, let's say I don't go into this door and I go into this door. I can take out these areas bit by bit. I can check this one, and I can check this one at a time, right? I can check this area one at a time. And of course, you don't actually have to commit to an area. Don't feel bad to like back out. You can commit to this much. See this area. see this area and control that area, and then you can back off and then just go back around to the other side. You can kind of like, you know, peek in, see what you can clear, right? And then you're good. And then you don't like that, you want to go around the other corner, make sure to shut doors behind you. If they do move, then it's going to be well known to you if the door is opened for some reason. You'd be like, okay, I cleared that area, I cleared this area. Now I'm going to try to clear this area, right? So just take off little bites of the room. Try to secure tiny little locations first. You know, for example, like this is a small little location. Secure this little spot. Check this spot here. Secured. So we kind of secured this little spot. And what I mean by secured is that we know what's in that area. So we're a little bit at ease about, oh, well, there could be a guy that can open this door at any moment, right? Let's say this door is closed. So just spreading off small chunks of areas and rooms and clearing small areas to minimize bigger areas, right? And avoid those bigger areas kind of for last, because you don't want to come out here without having cleared these small little cubby holes. You don't want to go out here without cleaning the right side and the left side and over here. So just take like small bites of the map. Now, if you guys do have any questions, as I said, or you just, you know, want to tell me with what your experience has been with Ready or Not so far, if you're a newer player, what weapons you like to use and why, that's totally fine. Just let me know in the comments. That is going to be it for the video. As I said, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. I'll probably respond pretty much 99% of the time. And generally speaking, my community seems relatively nice as far as I've seen so far. I haven't had any really bad interactions, so they can also help you out if you have any questions as well. So that is going to be it for the video. I know this is a long one, but thank you for watching and have a good day. Either going to run in there or get stuck on the door because they're so intelligent and smart. Now, the AI aren't perfect. As you can clearly see, they really struggle.